The DOJ report. That's all I have.
What DOJ report?
The DOJ PDF that they released with
what did it say?
names. It said that
it's the quiz. And if he gets any detail wrong here, Tim's going to say, wrong, you're lying.
verbatim.
Timelines are Tim Pool's largest enemy because Tim Pool lies and obfuscates around the timeline of every single thing he talks about. Tim, it's funny, he accused him of sophistry. Now that's what Tim is doing. He's trying to obfuscate as much as possible and move off the point and talk about other things or bring up irrelevant shit.
And I think you were tricked by these people.
Right.
If Russia gave you tens of millions of dollars.
Okay, it was $5 million, so Tim can fight on the amount.
Because they thought, and I think you were tricked by these people, right?
Hold on. That story's not true. It never happened.
The Edward Gregorian thing, right? Like
yes, it's not real. It never happened.
It never happened?
Never happened.
They never tried to host your.
No, you guys believe fake cult bullshit because you live in.
From the
He'll go into the most hyper nuanced individual facts here, and if you don't know all of them, I pointed this out with Sam Pepper before. This is a really common liar strategy: is when somebody's trying to nail you on the substance of a thing, you immediately get defensive by grilling them or contradicting the entirety of it if they don't get every single minor point right. He does this a lot.
DOJ, maybe I should.
They dropped it.
They dropped it.
There's no evidence. No evidence was ever released, and there's.
They dropped what? What? I don't know if that's. That hasn't been publicly announced. I don't think he would know that, but
it's from the DOJ. Maybe I should.
They dropped it.
They dropped it.
There's no evidence. No evidence was ever released, and there's no case.
Of who?
The two people completely.
The two people that I can't. I'm not going to speak out of turn. I will just say this: there's the case is dropped.
Turn if the case is dropped, right?
I'm not going to
now, right?
How about you let me finish talking? Well,
yeah, wait. Why can't you say anything? The case is dropped.
Well,
what are you doing?
I'm just asking if this is all fake.
The case is dropped.
Okay.
There's no evidence.
Why can't you talk about it?
I'm talking about it right now.
But you said I'm not going to speak out of turn.
Beyond what I can say, I will not speak out of turn for other people.
Okay.
What I can say is there's no case. There's no evidence. As far as anyone can tell, it never happened, and it was dropped almost immediately the day they announced it.
It was dropped immediately?
Almost immediately after they announced it, the case was gone.
I don't know.
Wait, so there's not an active case against the Chens or whatever? That stuff all got dropped? Does anybody have a link or an announcement or anything like that? I haven't heard that at all.
If you have a Jamie, can we pull it up? Because I want to
pull what up?
Pull the fact that the case was dropped.
How do you do that?
Well, it has to be public, right? Because the indictments were made publicly. So I imagine there's a courthouse somewhere that it's filed, right? I'm pretty sure you'd have to follow up on an indictment. No, there has to be some kind of public announcement made, no?
How do you know it was dropped?
Because I have lawyers that were working with the DOJ on it.
It wasn't reported anywhere, not a single person?
Yes, indeed. Because
then just bring up where it was reported at.
The story wasn't real to begin with, and it was picked up by a bunch of fucking retards.
Made it up.
What story wasn't real? He's playing fast and loose here, where Tim is trying to be like, because Tim is trying to he's trying to speak with specificity around claims that he himself was engaged in criminal behavior, but he's being very vague about everything he's saying to try to introduce a little bit of obfuscation. It's fucking stupid.
The DOJ
made it. What was it?
I will tell you that.
DOJ made it up to go after you?
I didn't say that.
Well, yeah, but if it's completely fake, where did it come from?
That's an interesting fucking question, isn't it?
Yes. Because my understanding was, I think you were deceived. I watched your response to it.
What's your evidence any of it happened?
I don't.
Or is Tim really trying to say that the entire thing was faked? There were no cash transfers whatsoever? Tenet didn't exist? Tenet Media was never a real YouTube channel? All of that was just a fake thing? It's just gone and now what? What?
The DOJ report. That's all I have.
What DOJ report?
The DOJ.
The quiz. God, he's such a pussy ass bitch. He's smart though. Tim, I'll give him credit for being smart enough not to bring anybody that's thoroughly read all these documents. Tim has never read an original material of anything in his entire fucking life, or at least not since he became a fucking sellout stooge for whatever foreign operator controls him.
PDF that they released.
PDF. You're thinking about the criminal indictment. I mean, I wouldn't expect this guy necessarily to know every single thing. Maybe he doesn't know how Tim Pool operates, that you have to be familiar with all the underlying material, or else Tim is just going to endlessly quiz you on it, which is funny because Tim hasn't read any of it.
What happened?
I don't. The DOJ report. That's all I have.
What DOJ report?
The DOJ PDF that they released with
what did it say?
Names. It said that
it's the quiz. And if he gets any detail wrong here, Tim's going to say, wrong, you're lying.
Russia was trying to pay people through Tenet Media Company, funneling money to host your content. Culture. This show, by the way.
What's the evidence?
It's an indictment, you fucking retard. They don't have to make that evidence public right now. They can speak about the evidence they have. The evidence they gave were bank transactions that were being transacted through a shell corporation where payments were being listed improperly. So for instance, I think some of the payments were, it was like $130,000 for iPhone 14 XX or some bullshit, right? That was the evidence still in the indictment, but we don't have access to that evidence now. It's just an indictment. Indictments are issued for PC, probable cause, so that you can do an arrest warrant. That's it. It's not like we have a trial or something where we can look at the evidence publicly or anything.
Don't have
There's
the
none.
fucking links in it.
There was never any evidence.
Okay, so where did it come from? What do you mean? I'm confused. Look, all I'm saying is it's
DOJ issued
the story was, and if this is false, sure. The story was the Russian government thought it behooved them to pay you money because your talking points on Ukraine were indistinguishable from their propaganda. Now, if that's not true, maybe
It's not true. That's not even in the indictment.
when you scream Ukraine is the enemy of now, if that pay you money because your talking points on Ukraine were indistinguishable from their propaganda. Now, if that's not true, maybe
It's not true. That's not even in the indictment.
when you scream Ukraine is
What's not in the indictment? That Tim Pool was getting paid a ton of money? That was in the indictment.
the enemy of the people, that is essentially Russian propaganda. No, I don't think it's being paid for them.
Did our ally Germany accuse Ukrainians of sabotaging
Did our
energy
ally
pipeline?
Germany put money into that country to fight back against the? Is
not the
Germany
question.
not raising money for them right now?
You gave a specific quote when I said Ukraine is an enemy of this country.
When what did
Because Germany, our ally,
Yeah.
said that Ukrainians just bombed our energy pipeline.
Sure.
And I said, that makes them an enemy of us.
There was nothing moving through that pipeline yet.
Our ally was attacked by Ukrainians.
Okay, so clearly the governments of these NATO countries don't agree with you insofar as they think, hey, it still behooves us to give money to this country and help it defend itself against Russia.
I don't care about that.
Meanwhile, the Russian narrative,
Germany fucking complained. Germany said that Ukraine was bombing their energy, and that makes them an enemy to us. Okay, well, Germany literally just said they don't give a fuck. That's why they still want to support them. I don't care. So? And? Who? Germany. No, who asked? Okay, damn, you got him, I guess.
narrative is 100% that did happen in that way that you're describing, where we don't actually know. This is my understanding.
let's-
My question is, why should I take your Ukrainian facts seriously if this
CBS
seems to be
News.
the case? What?
It's CBS News.
What's CBS News?
What I just cited was CBS.
They said 100% this is confirmed, or this is an
CBS
alleged thing.
CBS reported that Germany has issued an arrest warrant for a Ukrainian
Okay.
diver named Volodymyr
And that
Z.
means
and two
100% it happened.
It means our ally has asserted.
God. And I don't blame the soy pill for not being a fucking legal cuck, but it's so funny what he's saying there. Germany issued an arrest warrant, and that's your proof? That's interesting. Do you know what an arrest warrant is usually issued off of? Usually something called an indictment. You know that thing that you said earlier that wasn't proof, right? Because you said earlier that the DOJ didn't publish any proof. What did they publish? They published a set of indictments, right? And you said that didn't count as proof. But now you're saying that Germany issuing an arrest warrant does count as proof, which is, I imagine, in Germany is probably probable cause for an arrest. So, but whatever, who cares?
That this is their stance on it,
Right.
And we should stand
Why
with
is
our
it
NATO
their
ally.
conclusion Ukraine is the enemy of the people?
True. And see, this guy, he's not like familiar with all the underlying facts. He's unknowingly asking good questions. Because then the next question is, oh, why did Germany issue an individual arrest warrant for a person then? If they thought that Ukraine was responsible, why didn't Germany go to the ICJ and ask the International Court of Justice to look into it? Why didn't Germany go to the ICC and ask the International Criminal Court to issue an international arrest warrant for people in Ukraine?
Maybe it is.
Well, no,
Tim has no idea about any of these things.
it's not. They're giving them money. They're supporting them.
That doesn't get into the nuance of a political climate in Eastern Europe.
Nuance.
Okay, so what I'm asking you is, your position on this seems to be at the least aligned with a lot of what the Russian position is, which is, fine,
that
if that's
Russians
your
are
opinion.
scumbags and should
If
have
that's-
invaded?
If that's your opinion, and what I'm saying is, why then
Scumbags.
are all these countries still doing the exact opposite of what you're suggesting?
What does that have to do with what we were talking about? I don't
It has to do with the fact that, like, I'm asking you, why should I take any of your opinions on this seriously when it seems to be 100% aligned with a country that is the enemy in this
Are you
situation?
retarded?
What?
Are you a retard?
I mean, yes, but that's relevant to right.
What does my opinion as an American who doesn't want to be involved in foreign wars have to do with whether Russia agrees with that or not?
Because if the Russians thought that they should give you millions of dollars to spread your opinion, which helps
And they
them
didn't,
out,
and that's made up.
can we
What was-
look at that?
what
The
was-
case being dropped? Like,
Made up. Yeah, made up.
do you have an email from your
King.
lawyer about it being dropped or something that you're on the show with? Like,
Is there any
King
proof that it ever happened?
King should prove it. Prove it. Oh, words on paper. You know that a PDF's not even real paper, right? So pixels, LEDs, alternating. What is it? Light emitting diodes. That's your proof. Zeros and ones, bro.
The proof, I look. If you
No.
think the DOJ made it up out of thin air, maybe I don't know.
Okay, let's try this. Do you believe everything the government says?
No.
Then with no evidence being issued, no case ever being
There's a
brought,
very
no
Wait, why would you say, if you don't believe the government, then why would you give a fuck if any evidence was given? That you would just not believe the government anyway. This whole argument is self-defeating.
individuals
poorly
ever
written thing with
identified.
with charges. I mean, okay, what
Individuals were literally named in the indictment. The Russians were indicted. They were involved in this, no? What? Tenet, indictment, Department, Justice. 2, RT, employees indicted for covertly funding and directing U.S. company that published thousands of videos in furtherance of Russian interests. Unsealing of an indictment charging Russian nationals Kostiantin Kalashnikov. That's a real name. Come on. And Elena Afanasieva. So there are literally named people. Nobody ever reads any of the material. No, why?
it's a very
No
poorly
individuals
written
ever
thing with
identified.
with charges. I mean, okay, with the two Russians
You
that
just
were
believe whatever the government says.
to the two Russians indicted. Are they free? Are they free now?
Who are they?
Kalishnikov and the other one. I don't know. Remember that.
Oh, he even knows one of the names. Kalashnikov and, you got one of them. Okay, so he's seen something. He's at least read an article.
To the two Russians indicted. Are they free? Are they free
So Tim either doesn't know or he's being bad faith.
now?
Who are they?
Kalishnikov and the other one. I don't know. Remember that one's name.
When have you ever seen them before?
Have you ever seen these people?
What?
Are you saying these people aren't real?
We don't know that they are.
Oh my God. These are advanced debater tactics. I would have to study up if I ever went back on the show. I wouldn't be ready for this one. You know that that everything you said about that case was a lie. What do you mean? Well, like for George Floyd, for instance, like you see that you're trying to say he had a fentanyl overdose. He did. Okay, but I mean, you don't have any proof of that. Yes, I do. What's your proof? The autopsy and the levels in his blood. It's like, well, he was a frequent user of it, right? He probably hit a tolerance. Drug users don't build tolerances. Well, yeah, they do. No, they don't. Have you ever seen one before? What? Yeah, I've seen a drug user. No, like a tolerance. No, what do you mean by see a tolerance? Show me a tolerance. Google right now. Show me what a tolerance looks like. I don't know how to explain. I don't know how to materially represent a concept to you. Then you have no idea they're even real. Checkmate. It's like, okay, well, fuck me, I guess. What are we even saying? So, if they would have posted pictures, what would Tim have said? Do we know if the pictures are deep faked? Names aren't enough? They're just listing fake names on the indictment?
One, I don't know. Remember that one's name.
When have you ever seen them before?
Are you saying these people aren't real?
We don't know that they are.
I'm asking you if you
They haven't even posted photos of these people.
So, okay, hold on. Let me just get this straight. Because the idea is this entire thing was crafted out of thin air. We made up fake names.
Why'd they drop it?
Directly with XYZ.
Did they drop it? It was a public indictment. Wouldn't you have? I actually don't know if you would have to announce if you drop a public indictment. I would imagine you would.
People, it's directly linked to this company that we know is real, which is Tenet Media, started by Lauren Chen and her husband or whatever. But everything in between those names is completely fabricated.
So you believe
He's not going to answer any questions. So you believe everything you've read on the media? You don't know what you're talking about. You don't sound like you're familiar. You just believe the crazy stuff you've seen by crazy media outlets. It's always this bullshit.
whatever the government tells you?
That's not what I asked. I asked you if everything is completely fabricated in between those names.
Just because they issued an indictment doesn't mean that they made it up. They could be wrong.
Well, who? Okay.
I mean, these were indictments in front of a grand jury, right? But maybe the grand jury was all tricked as well. Were these grand jury indictments? I thought they were for at least the first one for the Tenet Media stuff. But maybe, who knows? Maybe they made it all up.
Okay, what is the source that is wrong then, right? Are all these Russian... Because you just alleged these Russian people don't exist.
Here's the world
right?
that you live in. You live in a world where if the government asserts it, it must be true without charge or trial.
Not what I said. I said if someone says something
You're
with
using
a very
that to
credible
strike at my
report...
opinion on a war in Ukraine, which I think we shouldn't be involved in.
It's because I'm questioning the veracity of some of the facts you're bringing up on it because they are indeed aligned with Russian state propaganda.
Let's try this.
Okay,
Let's try this.
Let's try the second biggest live show in the country is contacted by a conservative personality to license a cultural debate show unrelated to the news.
Sure.
The DOJ then comes out shortly before the election and claims that Russia paid for the whole thing.
Yes.
And then within weeks, it's completely gone. No evidence released, no charges, no trial, no evidence.
Well, how can you have a trial? I don't know if he's being stupid or I don't know if he's just obfuscating, but the Russian nationals, what do you think we're going to send SEAL Team 6 into Moscow to abduct them and bring them to the US to stand trial? I don't know if he'll ask. The soy pill guy, he should just ask point blank, oh, so you didn't get $5 million from Tenet Media. How much money did you get paid by them? You should ask that.
Completely gone. No evidence released. No charges. No
Yeah, where's Tenet Media then? Why isn't Tenet Media came back? Why hasn't Lauren Chen made a public statement, her and her husband, about how they're exonerated?
trial. No evidence.
Were the Russians not, charged? I thought they were.
I'm saying outside the
I don't
indictment.
think you committed a crime. I read the report. I watched your response, and it's like they
Don't you
deceived you to funnel money into you because they thought that your opinions aligned with theirs, and they want to spread those. That's it.
So
That's all it looked like.
I think you're a
Why?
because
You don't
when
know
the
the
U.S.
facts.
government, largely under the Biden administration,
Okay.
wants to be involved in a foreign conflict,
Sure.
and the second biggest live stream in the country is saying we should not be, they then issue a statement without evidence,
you have
impugning my
evidence
honor that
the
you are
Biden
using to
government
strike at my
made-
credibility.
Why would they go after your cultural show that you yourself just said had no relation to Pollockson? If the Biden government was so willing to fabricate this stuff, why wouldn't they just attack your main channel directly and shut it down? Did the deep state not have the power to do that? You guys say that the ADL and George Soros run all of YouTube and all that shit anyway. So if they were in control, they had the deep state, they had the government. They're literally, you're saying, issued fake indictments and shit, and they faked everything. Why wouldn't they just go for your main YouTube channel? Why the fuck would they go for the culture war show?
I have evidence that the Biden government fabricated this to frame you because they hate your
say
opinions
they
on
did.
Ukraine. What?
I didn't say they did.
He's not saying anything. He's literally just not saying anything at all about anything.
Well, that's what you're alleging right now.
No, I'm alleging that
I'm not. I didn't say they made it up. Okay, who are you saying made it up? I didn't say anybody made it up. I just said it wasn't real. Okay, well, what does that mean? It's just what I said. Okay.
You just said that. What do you mean? You just said when someone says something against the motives of the Biden administration, they might go after that second biggest podcast because they don't like what that podcast is
That someone doesn't have to be Biden. Could be a third actor, a top secret deep state operative.
saying. You said that's what
my
they did,
point
right?
was that you are using a claim without evidence to impugn my credibility.
No, I'm actually not.
You literally just said, why should I listen to your opinions?
I'm using because your opinions are indistinguishable from Russian state propaganda, and it behooved them to give you money because they're like, I want these opinions
So
disseminated.
the Russian position is that they shouldn't have invaded Ukraine?
So that's your basic position. I'm talking
From day
about
one.
Ukraine is the enemy of the people. America is fighting this.
Never said they were
war.
enemy of the people.
You literally.
I don't think he said Ukraine is the enemy of the people. He said Ukraine is like an enemy of America or something. Something like this, didn't he? Or what was the exact quote? Ukraine is the enemy of, oh my God, the enemy of this country or something. Or the nation, not the people. Oh my God, dude.
They won.
Ukraine is the enemy of the people. America is fighting this.
Never said they were enemy of the people.
You literally said Ukraine is the enemy of this country or whatever, right?
Because they bombed the Nord Stream pipeline according
Look at how he moves on from that so quickly. He corrects. Okay, he said the enemy of the country. Well, yeah, because of this. Like, look at how he moved on from that instantaneously. Oh my God.
to Germany.
The point is that
Bro, you know so
positions
little
in
about the
Tulsi-
Ukrainian conflict. Nord Stream pipeline according to Germany.
The point is that
You also, did Germany accuse Ukraine of doing it? Or were the Ukrainians that they issued an arrest warrant for? You know that's a different thing, right? Those are two different things, right?
You know so
positions
little
in
about the
Tulsi-
Ukrainian conflict.
What do you mean?
That you like,
Are you going to get me to name all the oblasts right now? I know like one of them. So
you don't, oh, wow, I'm impressed. You don't know.
it's like
you know-
Donetsk and
you know what-
Luhansk or whatever. Those are the only
You
two.
don't even know two.
Are they dumb if pronouncing them wrong?
Luhansk and Donetsk.
Yeah, there we go.
I don't care if you know the names of oblasts.
I just
because
remember you
the point
called
is,
out Wick on that. So
you don't know shit about what's going on, but you are adamant we be involved.
what do you mean I don't call it out?
Luhansk and Donetsk. You don't even know two.
Yeah,
Oh, wow, I'm impressed. You don't know.
it's like
you know-
Donetsk and
you know what-
Luhansk or whatever. Those are the only
You
two.
don't even know two.
Wasn't that two? Or is he saying you don't know two because Luhansk is the incorrect, is not the right pronunciation?
Are they dumb if pronouncing them wrong?
Luhansk and Donetsk.
Yeah, there we go.
I don't care if you know the names of oblasts.
I just
because
remember you
the point
called
is,
out Wick on that. So
you don't know shit about what's going on, but you are adamant we be involved.
Oh my God.
what do you mean I don't know shit? I know that the security guarantee happened. I know that we should defend.
Why did
it.
Russia invade?
Why did Russia invade? Well, I think you're alleging that it was because of the trade deals and they didn't want their cheap European goods flooding into
assert-
Russia
I didn't
or
assert
something like that. I thought you said that at one point. I'm sorry if that's not what you think. I thought the Russia.
I read that in a Reuters article
Okay. So what do you think? Why do you think Russia invaded?
because they don't want to lose control of Sevastopol.
Okay.
That's why they control the land bridge into Crimea.
What does this have to do with anything I said?
Invaded when? In 2014, you might be able to make that argument, but there wasn't necessarily, at least as far as I'm aware, a reason I think they were going to lose control of that base. But
I've seen you talk
You
about this
don't
stuff.
know why the U.S. is
hold
involved
on.
in Ukraine, but you want us
You're-
to be there.
you should have asked him for the year on that. because that wasn't the main invasion. That was for 2014, right?
I think that the U.S. is opposing, one, the invasion of Ukraine because we promised that, hey, if you give up your nukes, we'll help you if you get invaded because we don't want the nuclear proliferation in this country.
And what was that called?
I don't remember. It's like 1993 or something, right?
Listen.
Dude, the quiz. He's such a scumbag piece of shit. God, he's such a fucking loser that he won't drag anybody on here that would like, oh, he would get eviscerated on this. What? Because the guy doesn't remember the name of the...
Hey, if you give up your nukes, we'll help you if you get invaded because we don't want the nuclear We promised that, hey, if you give up your nukes, we'll help you if you get invaded because we don't want the nuclear proliferation in this country.
And what was that called?
Like, it's so funny, too, how surface level the quizzing is, right? In 94, there were 3 Budapest memorandums that were issued between 3 different countries, one being Ukraine. But that security guarantee that Soypil just said, that was not in there. And that would actually be your strong attacking point against that. You would say, excuse me, we did have treaties promising that we wouldn't interfere in the country or interfere with individuals from these countries if they gave us the nuclear weapons. We didn't provide any security guarantees. There was no promise that we'd help you if someone else invaded. That's absolutely not the case. But Tim doesn't know that because he doesn't know anything about these. He's probably only heard Mearsheimer bring it up or whatever. He's never read any of these. And these documents they're a page long.
I don't remember. It's like 1993 or something, right?
Listen, I have an issue with ill-informed individuals advocating for an escalation of war.
Why is this... Dude, if you're talking about... Look, I can probably...
I noticed he started doing this pathetic quizzing after blacklisting you. No, he's done it for a long time. He did to me when I was there about the cases that I didn't know enough about. And I got caught up on the Ahmed Arbery stuff where he started, quizzing. I don't know the details of it. Now I do. And now I would for anything going on to his show now that I understand better how he operates. But
name like the way that you've described of Russia's goals in this country and like all the points you're going over. My question is, why is it that when we do a security guarantee for a country, we shouldn't help that country out?
What's the security guarantee?
The security guarantee is that if you give up your nukes, we will protect you. Right?
Tell me about it.
What do you want me
oh my God, the endless quizzing.
to pull it up? I don't have it memorized. Do you have it memorized?
Yeah, it was the Budapest Memorandum.
There we go. Didn't remember.
It was the nuclear deproliferation, the beginning of the START treaties.
Right.
Now, why is the United States involved in Ukraine?
Because why are we involved in any foreign country?
No, there's a specific reason we're involved in Ukraine.
Are you talking about like to combat the spread of Soviet stuff, or what do you mean?
I have an issue my whole life with ill-informed people propagandized by the government to advocate for foreign intervention in other countries.
Why is this? What am I propaganda? Like, tell me what my
you don't
brainwashed
know
position. Because in good faith, I'm asking you, what do you think my position? Why I support this based on this? Like,
I've never heard that before. Was the Budapest Memorandum tied to any of the START treaties? I thought the START treaties were always just between. START treaties. Wikipedia. Budapest Memorandum. Did these have anything to do? I know that we were kind of angling for nuclear deproliferation or to not have nuclear proliferation as a thing, but on May 23rd, 1992, START Treaty was signed in 2010? No, you're so fucking wrong. Because if you play Metal Gear Solid 1, they talked about START and START 2, I believe, so you're major wrong. Okay, on May 23rd, 1992, Russia, the US, Belarus, Kazakhstan, and Ukraine signed the Lisbon Protocol to the START 1 treaty. Ahead of ratifying the treaty later, the protocol committed Belarus, Kazakhstan, and Ukraine to adhere to the NPT as non-nuclear weapons states as soon as possible. However, the terms of transfer of the nuclear weapons not agreed, and some Ukrainian officials, parliamentary responsibility of retaining some of the modern Ukrainian built. Okay, so maybe as part of these were protocols added onto the first START treaties.
Thing. Like, if I said, oh, it seems like we promised this country we'd defend them.
We'll be greeted as liberators.
Huh?
Because you're basically saying we will be greeted as liberators.
No, I'm saying seems to me like if I said, oh, it seems like we promised this country we'd defend them.
We'll be greeted as liberators.
Huh?
Because you're
Is he trying to tie this into the Iraq war?
basically saying we will be greeted as liberators.
No, I'm saying
You are.
He desperately wants to. That's what he's going to do. He's going to do it. He's going to do it.
To me, like we had a promise to this country to defend them in this case. My question is, what's wrong with that? Because maybe I'm wrong, but tell me about it. But my question originally was going back to this, like, okay, but like if you're saying the same things as Russian state TV, it makes it hard to take you seriously.
Does the
like somebody said this in chat so well earlier, this is why people hate history. Tim can't describe, someone else just said it too. Destiny, it's just such a waste of time because he clearly just knows the words, but doesn't actually know the details. You can tell because what he quizzes people on is always small details like names. Yeah, like why can't Tim just give an overall macro explanation of what was going on. Like explain, like weave this together instead of this autistic quizzing of the names of cities or oblasts or the name of the treaty or what it was. Or when it's like, just like explain, like, why do you just keep doing this endless needling and quizzing? It's so cringe.
Does the treaty that we have with Ukraine that promises to defend them include any guarantees for Russia?
Probably, I think so, right?
Does it maybe is there maybe some kind of issue pertaining to if the U.S.
Well, you're
aggresses?
asking, you know, just tell me. Haven't read the whole thing.
Yeah,
since,
like
3 months ago or something.
Was it Timber Sycamore? Was that the operation?
That was in Syria.
Yeah, when the U.S. started providing weapons to the Islamic terrorist groups.
Yeah.
So that they could topple the Assad regime, which was allied with Russia, where Russia has their naval base in Tartus.
Okay.
That was an aggress upon an ally of Russia, which destabilized the region.
I don't even think these are the strong arguments against violations of the Budapest memorandums. I think your strong argument, I would have to look this up because I don't remember historically, is that it was argued by some that the United States sanctioned a few leaders in Belarus. And if you read the memorandum, the Budapest memorandum involving Belarus, and the language is the same for all three of them, for Belarus, for Ukraine, and for Kazakhstan, you weren't supposed to sanction any of the government people or whatever as well. And some people argue that sanctions on certain Belarusian leaders was actually a violation of the Budapest memorandum to Belarus. The idea that us doing anything in Syria had anything to do with violating is fucking, but okay. Stupid.
Creating a conflict, particularly around control of a Russian naval base, which put them at risk.
Okay.
Assad had to flee the country. We viewed him largely as a terrorist who was gassing his own people. Right. Russia viewed him as an ally and sought to protect him.
Okay.
The U.S. threatened to put a no-fly zone over Syria, to which Hillary Clinton said, let's do it. Even though she was warned that would start war with Russia directly, she said, I don't care.
Okay.
The reason we are in Ukraine largely has to do with our attempts to bring natural gas from the Middle East into...
Oh, he read this pipeline theory. I remember this. Brian Dawson, the weird dude, used to push this theory a lot, that there was some massive pipeline from Israel or whatever. We were trying to bypass Iraq or Syria. I don't even remember, but it was some huge pipeline thing. Is like the big conspiratard theory about why all this happened.
To Europe to offset Russia's control of natural gas.
Right, yeah, I've seen you talk about this. Okay.
So the U.S. is setting up operations in Ukraine,
Okay.
running soft power operations to shift their government towards a pro-EU, pro-Schengen, pro-NATO sentiment.
Okay.
Russia opposes this.
Okay.
This is why Russia invaded. Firstly, the reason why they seized Crimea in 2014, was because they saw the writing on the wall with the ousting of Yanukovych. They didn't invade Ukraine at the time. They simply had their existing troops in Sevastopol walk outside. And
I don't believe it was existing troops. I think that they, by cover of night, dropped more troops there to take over the entire peninsula, not just secure the military base, but...
Didn't they put a bunch of special forces and like
They were
control
already
the
there.
elections? No,
I don't believe they were doing. They moved new people in, but
Little Green Men thing, right?
they were already there.
Okay,
They have a
why does
naval
that
base
make
in
it-
Sevastopol.
okay.
No one said it was. I'm saying this is what Russia did.
Right. Then there was
Russia
a lease,
invaded
agreement
Ukraine
in
after
Sevastopol,
Joe
right?
Biden got back in.
Right.
Because when Trump won in 2016, all of these tensions simmered down and halted.
that's a total fucking lie. All of these, the war was still raging in the southeast the entire time. What do you mean? All of these tensions simmered? What?
The response from the left, the Democratic Party, was
Hold on,
largely
hold
that
on.
Donald Trump was supporting Russian interests
One more time.
by removing our involvement from Ukraine.
I asked what specifically about my position is completely fabricated or brainwashed, but
Because you don't
but I'm
know
also
any of this,
But
but
I'm
want us
also
to be
hold on.
involved.
But I'm also questioning everything you're telling me now because first of all, you have been in this industry way longer than me. I would always concede and cop to the fact that you probably know more about more things than I do, and probably ever will.
Not
So
only do
just
I
hold
know
on,
more about it
just
than you,
by-
I was there twice at the start of the Civil War.
But my question is, if the Russian state media says, "Hey, this person's opinions are so aligned with ours, we want to give him millions of dollars," why should I believe you?
That's made up.
And your evidence of it being made up is, well,
You have no evidence of
Maybe,
it.
well, yeah, but you're. If you think the DOJ completely fabricated it, just say that. But I don't think.
No.
that's the case.
Let's say their indictment is fine.
Okay.
What evidence did they release?
I don't know. I haven't looked at the source.
The indictment contains no evidence.
It's like, can we call Lauren Chen on the phone and ask her right now?
The indictment contains zero evidence that anything.
It's an indictment. It's just a charging document. It's not your trial. You're not presenting evidence to a jury. It's literally just a charging document.
that they've claimed happened.
Yeah, when the government releases a report on something, do they have like a list of sources at the bottom, or do they say this is what we're alleging happened? Like, Joe Biden said, hey, Russia's about to invade Ukraine in the coming weeks. And they didn't say, and these are intelligence sources, and these are our spies. They were just like, this is going to happen. And then it did, right?
If your only argument against the historical facts that I brought up is, but I heard from an indictment that you may have been
that's
paid
not
by
my
a foreign
only
country.
argument. I have a lot of arguments there. I don't want to get into a whole Ukraine debate. My point is, like, I don't understand why.
Let's just pause on the Ukraine thing, because I don't need to rehash a history lesson to somebody who didn't research it.
Okay.
Let's just talk about
Speaking
the
of wait,
point,
not researching. Can we
point
talk
of
about the
being-
fine people hoax? You talked about it with Adam Conover, and like I think you bring that up with liberals a lot. I just made a video on it. You feature in it, the Adam Conover clip itself,
Right.
And the idea
you did research it and you did know the full
And
quote.
Bill.
yeah. So some people, especially Chuck Schumer, he did this. He said Donald Trump called neo-Nazis fine people, which is not the quote, right? It's like
They should be condemned.
Yeah, fine people on both sides, but I'm not talking about this. But like I think that completely ignores the context of the white nationalist who organized the rally, who was there on that day, and all the Identity Europa, the KKK, like the idea that there were fine people in this group is kind of like what everyone was upset about, is that he didn't condemn them on August 12th when white nationalists killed a guy. 2 days later, he gave a teleprompter speech that seemed kind of like wooden and hollow. And then on the 15th, he finally said the fine people thing, pointing to no one, because there were not fine people on the side of the neo-Nazis.
I think
right?
this is why young men are leaving the Democratic Party.
Because
Oh my God, dude.
we don't like neo-Nazis.
Because Trump condemned neo-Nazis, and you're trying to make the case why he actually did.
Can you bring up the Snopes article that you brought up?
Where Trump said, not the Nazis, and
Well, here's the thing: is like if you look at that article, obviously
The Snopes article is so fucking cringe. I can't believe that they cringed out so hard.
did a good job. They're like, we are here to report on the factual thing of what Trump said.
Yep.
But you brought this up with Adam Conover. Scroll down. Can you read that editor's note?
some readers have raised the objection that this fact check appears to assume Trump was correct in saying there were very fine people on both sides of the Charlottesville incident, and that's not the case. The fact check aimed to confirm that Trump actually said, not whether what he said was true or false. For the record, virtually every source that covered the Unite the Right debacle concluded that it was conceived of, led by, and attended by white supremacists, and therefore Trump's characterization was wrong.
Right. So like most of the people in the
Oh,
media
I didn't see that they'd added that note. Good job.
narrative around this as a whole was that Trump is not condemning white nationalists at this rally that killed a person.
I'm just going to say it again. This is why young men are leaving the Democratic Party.
Good job.
Can you address
Nice.
the point I'm bringing up? Hey, August 11th happened.
I'll say it right now. Who did Trump describe specifically as the fine people?
So on August 11th,
Who did Trump describe as the fine people he was
he said the people that weren't the neo-Nazis and the racists who should
No,
be
he
condemned
specifically
totally.
said some people who just didn't want to see statues torn down in
So,
their neighborhood.
so not those people. So everyone excluding those. And
So when
what
Trump
Snopes has
says like
confirmed-
a little
what Snopes
old
has
lady
confirmed-
doesn't want a statue torn down as a fine person,
That's
he's
who.
right.
Where is this little old lady? Right. The point is,
video,
this
it's
was a
intelligent.
white nationalist rally organized by Jason Kessler, a white nationalist,
Yep.
and with the scheduled speakers being David Duke, Mike Enoch, Richard Spencer.
Yep.
And so when you show up, you look at these promotional materials. The news
they should be condemned
and the news.
But he didn't initially.
On this as this is going to be a white nationalist rally, and then you show up and you're like, well, I know I'm one of the 4,000 other Nazi people here, but I'm just here to protest the statue. Do you think those people like existed and like
Maybe a
the
white
media
supremacist.
didn't bring David Duke to the rally? David Duke promoted and organized.
There is
Yep,
a,
with
there,
Jason Kessler,
there is
Mike
a
Enoch,
relationship
Spencer.
between the state, the media, and the boogeymen that seeks to take normal right-wing opinions and vilify them and make them scary and alienating to normal people.
So you think there's
Everybody
like
plays-
some subversion tactic which
Absolutely.
made the white nationalists promote this rally to scare people away from defending the statue?
100%. Yes, that is how this has operated since the end of World War II. This relationship between
Wait, is he saying that David Duke was controlled by the state here and brought in to organize this? Is that what he's saying?
the national security state, far-right organizations, and the media. They all work together to vilify normal right-wing opinions such as, we don't want a statue of a local hero.
I'll say-
just pause. I got a question for you. I got a question for you. Do you think that intelligence agencies in the United States coordinate with news organizations?
100%. Yes, of course.
You shouldn't even grant that. In the past 10 or 15 years, give me an example.
And I mean, even worse than that, they subvert certain movements. Like I brought
You
up
think that
COINTELPRO, right?
You
Like,
think
they
that
did
news
this
organizations even today take direction from intelligence agencies?
direction. Depends on what you mean by that. I'm not sure. Like they get the NPR's like, you have to report on this. Maybe if it's like, hey, we're doing a story on this and we have insiders here. Would you like to make a story about this? That might be manufactured consent, but yeah, they probably do that.
So I can tell you with firsthand experience, the State Department particularly gives calls on the phone the editor in chief and tells them what to report.
No, bullshit. That's a fucking lie. And nobody's reported on that? Nobody in the newsroom has said anything? That none of the editors have made any statements? Nobody anywhere? Come on.
They say, hey, you need to report on this, or hey, this is what happened if you're making a report on this.
They say we need you to report on this.
Sure, but that's not forcing them to report on something. If I, bombed a country and I'm like, hey, we're going to report that we just bombed Cambodia or whatever, and I get on the phone with Washington Post, I'm like, hey, just so you know, we just bombed a country. We're leaking it to you first. Go ahead and,
No, I'm telling you that the State Department contacts the heads of news organizations and says, we've got a big story that we need you to cover. We need this one out there.
Sure, but like this is kind of the way you're phrasing it makes it seem like, oh, news, like you got to do this or we're going to punish you, and not, hey, you're a news organization. This is going to be
That's what he's saying. Yes.
huge benefit for you to get ahead of this story and talk about this very big thing that's about to happen, which is a completely normal relationship.
So I think because of movies, largely, people live in this world where they think everything's a perverse incentive or blackmail or a bribe. The reality is, for news organizations, it's really simple. You just hire the people who will do what you say. You don't hire the people who you have to bribe to do it.
Noam Chomsky made a whole thing about this.
So what ends up happening is you're a news organization and you want someone who's you need to report that this conflict in Afghanistan has to happen, and the Taliban are the bad guys.
Oh, if you want to talk about how the media was very complicit in the Iraq war narrative, 100%.
No, come on, don't go back to Iraq. We have to be able to talk about things. And how old are you? Soy Pill, were you alive when the Iraq war started? I'm not knocking up, but like, come on, this is like fucking 2.5 decades old. There's other things that have happened in the world that we can talk about.
Is you get a list of people who are writing, and one guy says, I'm a bit nuanced, I'll write whatever you need. One guy says, I hate the government of Iraq. Saddam Hussein is a scumbag. You're hired. And then when the State Department says, write this, they go, hey, look what we got from the State Department. He goes, oh yeah, and he writes it up.
Yeah, there's ideological capture for sure. I don't disagree with.
Well, it's functional of the U.S. intelligence.
Okay, but if we're talking about this, and it's like, okay, if we look at the timeline, you had a bunch of neo-Nazis on August 11th go and talk about Jews not replacing us, blood and soil, gas the K word, right? And it's like the day after that, he doesn't condemn those people versus every other Republican politician coming.
He did.
No, the day after that, he doesn't condemn those people, right? He says he tweets something
so
out.
stupid.
Well,
This is why young men are leaving the Democratic Party. I'll say it again.
Why is he saying this?
Us, blood and soil, gas the K word, right? And it's like the day after that, he doesn't condemn those people versus every other Republican politician coming.
He did.
No, the day after that, he doesn't condemn those people, right? He says he tweets something out.
So stupid.
Well,
This is why young men are leaving the Democratic Party. I'll say it again.
You can keep deferring to that, but the point is like your narrative on this is painted by what I will admit are people like Adam Conover who like don't understand it. They just hear this like, oh, he called neo-Nazis fine people, and they brush it aside. They don't think about it. Did Adam Conover lie about it?
Because the first thing he said was,
I don't know anything about it,
then claimed he didn't know.
Right, which is like pussy shit in my opinion. And but
And now what you're doing is called sophistry.
what is the sophistry to say that people were upset?
Arguing over words and tone about things that happened 8 years ago.
I'm saying
You are arguing
the day after
status of
neo-Nazis
Trump instead of what actually happened.
the day after neo-Nazis marched in this rally with the tiki torches, Republicans came out. Mitch McConnell, the Bushes, all these other people came out and said, by the way, I'm not saying these people are good. I'm saying all the other Republican parties said, hey, these are neo-Nazis and these are bad. And Donald Trump said, many sides, right? And people were upset about that. And
You mean after a different event?
no,
That's why I call it sophistry.
after the tiki torches.
Trump didn't say very fine people on both sides of
No,
the
the many sides was on August 12th. He said many sides. Fine people was on August 15th. That was 3 days later after he didn't say anything to condemn them for 2 days. Then gave the teleprompter speech. Then finally condemned them after every other reasonable politician who I fucking hate Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz was condemning this and he wasn't. And it seems like the reason people are mad are not that he said verbatim.
Timelines are Tim Pool's largest enemy because Tim Pool lies and obfuscates around the timeline of every single thing he talks about.
Neo-Nazis are fine people because he didn't. You're right. That is
That's why they're mad. That's literally what they're
why
saying.
they're mad is because he refused to condemn like one of the most egregious displays of white nationalism in this
How
country.
many times has Trump condemned white supremacy?
Look at how Tim is trying to, now that Tim realizes he's talking to somebody who knows the timeline, Tim, it's funny, he accused him of sophistry. Now that's what Tim is doing. He's trying to obfuscate as much as possible and move off the point and talk about other things or bring up irrelevant shit or
Other people.
A lot.
Have you seen the clip of him on, was it Jake Tapper, where he asks them to like denounce the KKK and he just won't do it?
Have you seen literally the 57 times Trump's been like, why do I keep getting asked to do this and I do it every time?
Because he really struggles to do it. And it's like, hey, why are you so reluctant to do this versus every other politician who like, would you denounce the KKK, Tim?
No.
Wait, why not?
Because it's a bullshit smear tactic.
Ask
PR.
me, I'll say yes. Why not?
Because you're
Oh, really great question. Do you think it's a bullshit smear tactic then when they ask Dems to denounce like crazy, weird, like out there trans stuff? Because they do that all the time.
I'm in a cult because I will immediately denounce the KKK because I think the evil racist lynching group is bad.
Why are you asking me to denounce the Klan?
I'm asking you not because I think you support them. I'm asking you because it's showing how easy it is to denounce them, and he struggles with this. And it raises questions where it's like, hey, why is it? Yes, it absolutely does. If he says
This is why Trump won the popular vote.
If he lies on national television when someone says, "Hey, will you denounce David Duke?" and he says, "I don't know who."
This is why Trump won. This is why Trump won. This is why Trump won. Why do people keep saying this? Wait, hold on. When did the very fine people quote happen? Didn't Trump, that was in his first term. Didn't he literally lose after he said that? Why would you say this is why Trump won? Isn't this why Trump lost? What? How is it all roads lead to Trump winning at all points in time? Okay. Just kidding. He didn't actually lose. Trump has won every election he's participated in.
David Duke is when he.
It's a great answer.
No, because in 2000 he said, "I'm leaving the Reformist Party because David Duke is part of it." So he did know who David Duke was.
No, it doesn't.
Isn't that like the point though?
If he knows who he is,
bro, they tried.
If he knows who a character is and then pretends like he doesn't understand the concept of the KKK, says, "I don't know this."
I'm gonna say it again.
Does this not raise questions to him?
It does not.
Why not?
I've got videos that I've been making. I've been making
Now we diversion. I've got videos. I've got other things.
online videos where I talk for hours for like 16, 17
You know what the
years.
KKK is?
Indeed, I do.
Okay, so why would you say I don't know what that is?
And if someone
does that bother you?
If someone went back and said, Tim, you know what's really funny? I'll tell you this. When Andrew Tate got really big, and everyone was talking about Andrew Tate, I was like, oh, I know that guy. Oh yeah, holy shit.
On the show,
8 years ago, he had DM'd me about the field reporting stuff. He had like 40,000 followers. If someone had asked me, what do you think of Andrew Tate? I'd be like, honestly, I don't know the guy. Bullshit. You were DMing with him 8 years ago. I'm like, I didn't even realize.
That's not at all the same. Oh my God.
Yeah, but that's very different from citing him specifically as
Once
the
he
reason
gets fired.
as the reason you ended a particular part of your political career. It's like specifically because of this man, and then also saying I don't know what the KKK
You
is.
understand the problem with that though? Is it's like, okay,
Literally, can we
in
get the link?
I don't know what the Klan is.
Can you watch it?
In
Wait, hold on.
If Donald Trump denounced KKK,
No.
let's look it up. Let's look it up.
I'm
Maybe
asking
getting
a
it wrong.
question.
I might be wrong.
Oh, Tim doesn't want to look it up.
I think he said I don't know about that group.
Before
I don't know
we-
about the
my
KKK.
question to you is,
yes.
He said, I don't know.
I don't want to say quote it verbatim, so let's watch it together.
Trump. Okay, so then I don't.
Trump
What do
refusing
you
to
ask?
denounce the KKK.
While you look that up, do you understand the problem with that though? If it's 2015 and you're having a conversation with Trump and you're like, denounce David Duke, and he's like, I don't know who that is. And you're like, yeah, you do, because here's you denouncing him 15 years ago.
He didn't actually bring it up, right?
The point being, it's the same game. They've been doing it for decades. He gets bored of it. They just wait for him to not give a sufficient answer one time. And now 8 years later, we're discussing it.
Other
Like it's relevant
Republican
to his
politician
policy.
can easily give the answer of, yeah, no, I don't like these white supremacist groups, but he struggles with it.
He did, as Tim said.
No, he didn't.
50 times.
It took him days to denounce.
And we know about that one instance because that's
And the KKK one,
they
which
got
is a
him.
completely different one, and also struggling to denounce the Proud Boys, which is another one. Like this keeps happening, right? So my question is, no, I'm not looking up has Trump condemned white supremacists. This is obvious. He said it in the thing. Look up the.
Well, hold on. You're asking me to pull a single thing I've.
Oh, now Tim is looking for something different. Oh, he Googled, has Trump condemned white supremacists? What a fucking loser. Oh my God.
Context.
It's not out of context.
I just searched for
look
Tim
up,
Klan white supremacy.
look up the CNN clip with him talking. I think it's Jake Tapper, where he asked him like, "Hey, David Duke has endorsed you. Will you just quickly denounce him?" Which any reasonable person.
I'm just pulling a bunch. I'm gonna pull up all of it.
Can you just bring up one?
No, you've been talking.
You made a
This one's embarrassing, by the way.
Sir,
I would love to. And
I just Google search and I'm pulling up all that comes up.
Okay.
we could
I'd like to watch that
do
one.
but
Say the National Guard would be over. There'd be no problem.
Okay.
But they don't want to accept the National Guard.
You have repeatedly criticized the vice president for not specifically calling out Antifa and other left-wing extremist groups. But are you willing tonight to condemn white supremacists and militia groups and to
Scott,
say
failed quick
that
time.
they need to stand down and not add to the violence in a number of these cities, as we saw in Kenosha and as we've seen in Portland? Are you
I'm willing
prepared to
do that,
specifically
but
do it?
I would say almost everything I see is from the left wing, not from the right wing.
what are you saying?
I'm willing to do anything. I want to see
Well,
peace.
then do it, sir.
Say it. Do it. Say it. Do you want to call him? What do you want to call him? Give me a name. Give me a
White
name.
supremacists and
Would you like me to condemn?
white supremacists and right Proud Boys.
Stand back and stand by. But I'll tell you what. Somebody's got to do something.
I think
You're in condemnation, yeah.
I think it's fair to say it was a gaffe.
Sure, if you want to say he fucked up there, but then if we look at the pattern of him failing to do this, and we can please watch the KKK clip, which I think is even worse than that one, which was bad, by the way, telling a white supremacist group to stand by and not, hey, yeah, these people are evil and I hate them. Like, this is very, like I said, you didn't want to do this because it was a smear tactic, but anyone asked any of these Republican politicians, you denounce the KKK. Yeah, right? Easy. Because obviously, versus someone who's
Sorry, hold on. Just to be clear, because I understand this is going to be lost to history because nobody gives a fuck. When Tim Pool just said that was a gaffe, Donald Trump said stand back and stand by. Stuart Rhodes and the other the Proud Boys guys. What's the guy? He's got a foreign name. What's his name? Stuart Rhodes is the head of the Oath Keepers, I think, and then there was the head of the Proud Boys, something Enrique Tarrio. Both of them put out on Parler, heard you loud and clear, sir, standing back and standing by. And then these people made a plan, a coordinated plan to take over buildings in the Capitol during January 6th, executed partially on that plan. It was highly coordinated. They were charged and then convicted of seditious conspiracy and eventually pardoned by Trump. Like, to call that a gaffe, man, that sure had a whole bunch of really negative things that it kind of like caused and then were later forgiven by Trump. But okay.
who's like clearly struggling to do this. Now, by the way, I don't think this makes Trump a white supremacist. Like, I think this is literally just he is very hesitant to alienate his base. But like, that's bad if you're emboldening like these really, really bad groups.
Last chance. Super Tuesday brings caucuses and primaries in 12 states. For Republicans, about half
Right there.
About what you're even talking about with. I don't know anything about. David.
beginning with a new controversy surrounding Trump today. Here's Major Garrett.
I don't know anything about David Duke. Okay. I don't know anything about what you're even talking about with white supremacy or white supremacists.
Donald Trump demurred when asked
That's
whether
the full
he
clip.
could.
Yeah,
The full clip is much worse than that too.
I'm trying to find it. The only thing that comes up, I got to be honest, when I search for it, is that Trump condemns white supremacy.
Okay, well, I promise you that's not all the time.
I do agree with you.
I can find it for you.
I do agree with you. There's a longer clip. He basically was like, I know what you're talking about. I don't want to condemn him. Trump KKK CNN, and then it's like Trump campaign denounces Klan. Trump calls KKK Nazis repugnant. Trump denounces David Duke 2016. I mean, here you go. CNN politics. Trump denounces David Duke KKK.
Yeah, he did it eventually, I'm sure.
He's a bad
Same way
person,
he
I just
actually
about-
condemn white supremacists.
So
Does it not raise any alarm bells? I mean, I
not really.
hate to do this. I hate to do this on stream, but I know it's in my video. If you go to my channel, you go to my most recent video, and you scroll to that exact clip, we can watch the whole thing in full.
but you're correct.
Why don't you want to show the clip?
I can't find it.
Well, I just said if you go to,
And also, I feel
don't
like-
wanna shamelessly promote myself, but if you go to my channel, it's in my most recent video, The Soy Pill. Like I know because I just released this on Tuesday, so I watched it like a million times.
What I'm trying to do is find the actual raw clip.
I
just need to
cut out the dead air of it, if that's what you're. worried about.
For the same reason, I don't want to play the CBS Evening News clip. I'm trying to find the actual raw clip of what Trump
my
said.
God.
That way, no one's going to say. So first of all, I agree with you. You're correct that when Trump was asked about it, he was like, I don't know anything about it. I don't want to. And it was contentious. And then he came out later and said,
Would
I
you
do
call that
condemn
a
them.
gaffe?
No,
What?
call it inconsequential, I guess.
You don't think that at all?
I have a
You don't
transcript.
think that at all emboldens the?
From this is NPR, people don't trust them. I don't know what group you're talking about. You wouldn't want me to condemn a group. Oh wait, what is this? I don't know anything about David. Why don't they have the video in here?
I know I got the video from.
Wait, hold on.
Too.
No. I don't know, man.
Well, does that not bother? Does that not give you pause that like someone you voted for is like struggling to denounce a hate group when every other person can immediately do it?
Let's just do this.
Well, answer the question.
I am. And it's called no. Because I typed in Trump refuses KKK CNN. Trump condemns all white supremacists. Trump refuses to condemn white supremacists. Donald Trump stumbles on David Duke KKK twice. That's the one I pulled up.
Okay.
Full interview. Trump denounces KKK. Trump, I totally disavow the Ku Klux Klan.
Sure.
Like, this is just a political non-story as far as I'm concerned.
So when the groups come out afterwards, when this happens and say, wow, we really feel emboldened by this person, and then you can see like a rising trend of these groups' influence, like I think that's a very demonstrable material harm.
People have no influence though, dude. The Proud Boys used to be a drinking club.
Steve Bannon.
Oh, he doesn't know all the, or maybe Story Pill does, but like they put out on Parler, stand back and stand by, loud and clear, sir. Heard you loud and clear. I think Stuart Rhodes and Enrique Tarrio, I think they both put that. Do I have pictures of this? Hold on.
You have repeatedly criticized the vice president for not specifically calling out Antifa and other left-wing extremist groups. But are you willing tonight to condemn white supremacists and militia groups and to say that they need to stand down and not add to the violence in a number of these cities, as we saw in Kenosha and as we've seen in Portland? Are you prepared to specifically
do it?
Well, go ahead.
I would say almost everything I see is from the left wing, not from the right wing.
So what are you saying?
I'm willing to do anything. I want to see peace.
Then do it, sir.
Say it. Do it. Say it. Do you want to call them? What do you want to call them? Give me a name. Give me a
white
name.
supremacists and white supremacists and right militia.
Stand back and stand by.
What a crazy set of words. It's not like he misspoke one time. Stand back and stand back. Why would you even, what the fuck?
But I'll tell you what. Somebody's got to do something about Antifa and
then why would you say that immediately after?
the left, because this is not a right-wing problem. This is a left.
FBI director.
This is a left-wing problem.
White supremacists and
Joe Biggs, I think he was one of the seditious conspiracy guys, right? Trump basically said to go fuck them up. This makes me so happy. Enrique Tarrio, standing by, sir. Joe Biggs. President Trump told the Proud Boys to stand by because someone needs to deal with Antifa. Well, sir, we're ready. Proud Boys shout out at the presidential debate. Like, and then these guys were all involved in a lot of in the J6 planning. Because remember, the Proud Boys were the first ones to break through all three barricades. They were the first ones into the Capitol. They were the ones that organized prior to the huge riot at the Capitol, who broke down all of the initial barriers. Like, it was them. It was planned, coordinated. They got encouragement right here for it. You will never, for the rest of human history, you will never have a chain of causality as clear as this. That will never happen. You'll never see it. Like, if you can't understand this, you're lost. You're hopelessly lost. You'll never understand anything, or whatever you politically, ideologically want to, I guess.
Around an alt-right person, he's not right.
Steve Bannon is like a broadcaster.
What do you mean? Does he not claim himself to be an opponent of the alt-right as he has since like 2016?
This is, man. You know what's really challenging in the political space is like...
What about Steve Bannon as an alt-right when he's co-tech?
What does alt-right mean?
Alt-right, oh man. Like, getting me to define the concept of...
Steve Bannon literally took credit himself for creating the term and popularizing alt-right. How fucking retarded are you? Or how ignorant are you of the media space if you don't even know that? What the fuck?
Well, the AP has the AP guidelines. What do you mean? The AP guidelines have a definition of what alt-right is.
Okay, and what's that?
White nationalist.
Okay.
Steve Bannon is not a white nationalist.
If that's the only criteria for it, I think that he might still be, but I'd have to look into it.
He's not. Amazon. Steve Bannon thinks we should tax the rich.
We are the platform for the alt-right, Bannon told me proudly when I interviewed him at the Republican National Convention in July. Though disavowed by every other major conservative news outlet, the alt-right has been Bannon's target audience ever since he took over Breitbart News from its late founder, Andrew Breitbart, 4 years ago. Like, how are you going to say, whatever.
To oblivion. He thinks there should be a wealth tax on billionaires.
Okay, but that doesn't... No, by the way, I already know this, but that doesn't make him not right.
No, he's not alt-right.
Well, first of all, there are Nazbols, which are Nazis who are like super pro like socialist weird policies, right? Like, you can have a economic left policy and be on the right.
We had Steve Bannon on the show, and I asked him, I was like, you've been called white nationalist. He's like, I have. And I was like...
So he was playing dumb? Because of course he would know that, right?
We were specifically referring to alt-right as white nationalist, and I was saying, they're claiming you're racist, and he was like, I said, there's a viral post on Reddit right now that says this is the face of white supremacy.
Okay.
And he's like, I didn't realize they were saying that about me.
What was this, like 2016?
What does that have to do with him identifying as alt-right? He says there's different people or whatever. Like, he's already spoken about this. Bannon dismisses the alt-right's appeal to racists as happenstance. Look, are there some people that are white nationalists that are attracted to some of the philosophies of the alt-right? Maybe, he says. Are there some people that are anti-Semitic that are attracted? Maybe, right? Maybe some people are attracted to the alt-right. They're homophobes, right? But that's just like, there are certain elements of the progressive left and the hard left that attract certain elements. What are you saying here when you're saying like Bannon like explicitly tried to capture like the alt-right, like explicitly, whatever. I hate this guy.
Yeah, well, no, he came on the show in 2022.
So for 5 years of every mainstream media outlet reporting on him like that, and he's never heard of that?
Have you ever watched the show?
I've never watched it.
Did you know that he's pro wealth tax?
Wait. Can we not move on from the fact that
We're not moving on. I'm asking you about the policies of Steve Bannon.
Right. So
What do you know what a third position is? Wealth tax has nothing to do with being like an authoritarian right-leaning person. Like
What do you know about him?
I know that he has he wants to tax billionaires, right?
Why don't you like Steve Bannon?
Off the top of my head, I'd have to go look at all the articles that have been propagandized into my brain to force me to have this narrative. I can't remember it.
Probably. I mean, if you watch his show, you might be like, "Oh, this guy's Occupy Wall Street."
Yes. Okay. I can have people.
Steve Bannon. I called him a leftist.
No, hold on. If he's occupied, let's just
An actual fucking retard. God, he's so dude, hiding in his little shitty fucking cave up here without any actual pushback from somebody who's super familiar with the material. He's such a cringe lord. He's such a little baby pussy bitch.
say that he's like super mega leftist on this policy. Then why is he in the Trump cabinet voting for the Trump policies that are not getting us anywhere close to this?
Well, Bannon wants arrests.
Arrest for what?
He wants the government dismantled, broken, arrested.
But okay, look, no one is 100% aligned with like one policy, one party. I am on the left. I'm progressive, and I am pro-gun. Right? I have like policies.
The left is pro-gun.
Well, to the far left.
No, the left is pro-gun.
Liberals in California are stupid anti-gun. Right? They're like putting taxes on ammo or like background checks on ammo. All this stupid shit. I think that's dumb. Right? However, that doesn't make me not left. So the thing is, there are key principles that I have, like progressive tax rates, welfare state, that keep me in this party. That keep me in this party. If Steve Bannon has this leftist policy of taxing billionaires, but he's completely aligned and voting for the right policy, this is not the thing that is the deal breaker for him. This is not his principle.
You call him a liberal, but say he's on the right.
He's like in the Trump cabinet helping Trump win, which is right.
He's not in the Trump cabinet.
He was in 2016. Okay, sure, but the point is the fact that I don't know if he got fired or
Yeah, like,
who he
call
aligns with and who he votes for.
A bunch of liberals are on the right.
What is the if I'm a right wing person, if I say I'm right wing because I vote for Trump, but I support every other.
How is he defining liberal at that point then? What are your definitions here? It's so stupid.
Taxation, progressive. I support gun rights, progressive. I want to ban all guns, but abortion is my mainstream value. Am I on the left or am I on the right? Like,
so you're saying
like every single one of my policies is aligned with Bernie Sanders. However, I think abortion should be illegal in all cases, so I vote for Donald Trump because that's my delineating issue. What party am I in? What side of the aisle am I on?
What, we can talk about tribal or philosophy. So what I'm talking about is a liberal Republican.
Voting for the material outcomes that are caused by the Republican Party. So whether or not he wants to tax billionaires, he's voting for the party that is cutting taxes on billionaires in this new bill that they passed in 2017. So how does that make him on the left?
Yep.
Steve Bannon?
Steve Bannon is helping out the party that is doing the opposite of this left-wing party.
Oh my
right?
You have to ask him or watch his show.
Well, sure,
my point was that he advocates for taxing the
You can't. What you were just defending his political position, saying that he's like a leftist or whatever, and now when he gives you an example and then you push him, you're like, oh, well, you'd have to ask him. When have you ever engaged in what a retarded was this like Hassan tier in terms of responding to something like, oh, do you think that guy hates him or is racist because of blah blah? And it's like, I don't know, you have to ask him. I'm not asking him. He's not here, you fucking moron. What? We can't guess or we can't understand or make a statement about anybody else's political positions or anything if they're not here to question.
Sure. And if he's not doing anything to make that happen, why would that make him on the left?
Maybe he is. I don't know.
He's not. He's pretty.
Maybe. Oh my God.
Trump.
See, this, once again, like this is why I say the left is a cult. It's like a zero-sum reality.
This isn't zero sum. This is why do I vote?
Voting is zero sum. You vote for somebody, you get one vote. That's how it works in the United States.
Wait, I do. You vote for Trump because you think that these policies that you want are going to happen, right? Like,
well, because they did.
Sure. And what I'm saying is if you say, hey, I'm a liberal because XYZ policy, but I vote for the exact opposite person on all these other ones because, let's say this, you're
in a cult.
No, because your mainstream policy, you're delineating like this is my dividing line is no new wars, no new conflicts. That's fine. That's why you vote for Trump. But then why pretend that you're a liberal on all these other things when you will vote for the material opposite of all of that?
People have different weights to what they find to be more important than other things.
Exactly. It's a hierarchy of what
this is why I'm not, right? I'm also anti-death penalty and I don't go march for it.
Right. But you are going to vote for the party that's going to try to reinstitute it, right?
Indeed.
Okay. So that's what I'm saying.
Some things are more important than others.
Right. And if
like I think
war is
woke,
a delineating factor, that's
I think woke
fine.
cultism and critical ideologies are a threat to the existence of this United States.
And that makes sense. Then why you would vote for Trump? Because they think the same thing. But that's not a progressive or liberal position. Right?
It's a classically liberal position.
Okay, but it's not
traditionally liberal.
But it's not a liberal position.
Traditional liberals were not in favor of whatever the weird shit y'all are doing now, like cutting kids' balls off.
Well, I mean, trans stuff is new, but the point is that the policies of like.
And that's my point. 20 years ago, if you went to a liberal and said, actually, we had a big video with like 500,000 views. We talked about how in like 2010 or whatever, College Humor made a video with Jack Black and a bunch of celebrities where they said, it's for Prop 8. And then the fake conservatives in it said they'll teach kids about sodomy. And the liberals go, that's a lie.
They'll teach kids about like gay sex.
What they do.
They not do that.
So back in 2010.
I would disagree with that ad then, because like, of course, if gay people have sex with sodomy, then why would you say, yeah, sex
So liberals back then said, we are not going to teach kids about sodomy.
That's dumb.
And that's why 9 million Obama voters, I think they should.
Oh my God. Okay, I can't. Don't link me this anymore. This guy's a fucking retard and a coward.